I am Carol Angela Davis. Folks, your drinking water, well, it may be killing you. And no, you cannot spring water drink your way out of this one, folks. All right? There's a new American health crisis today. And folks, it is serious. It's PFAS. That's right. It's contaminating your drinking water. And you should know that there are about 700 PFAS contaminated sites affecting more than 110 million people. Third of the country, you're probably in that. Okay? PFAS are known as forever chemicals because, folks, they simply never go away. That's right. They are called PFAS or per or polyfluoroalkyl substances. They are a class of about 5,000, yes, fluorinated compounds. Oh, that fluoride. They are called forever chemicals, folks, because they don't naturally break down and there is no known way to destroy them. It's in our water. Testing found high PFAS levels in drinking water in 34 major U.S. cities. Some researchers say nearly every source of surface water in this country is contaminated. That's right. They say they found these dangerous chemicals in, are you ready for this? Rainwater. That might touch you. A range of foods and also in sewage sludge. And that's what farmers spread on cropland as fertilizers. That puts it in all your food, your cereal, and the whole 9 yards. It is estimated that PFAS are in 99% of Americans' blood. It's running through you. And the chemicals have even been found in Arctic animals. Take a look at this video.
Hi, I'm Sydney with Environmental Working Group. This week, EWG released a brand new report on the PFAS contamination crisis. PFAS, or forever chemicals as they're more commonly known, build up in our bodies and don't break down in the environment. Virtually the blood of every American is contaminated with PFAS, which has been linked to an increased risk of cancer as well as other diseases. Here are 3 things you need to know about our report on these notorious and persistent compounds. First, new laboratory tests commissioned by EWG found PFAS in the drinking water of dozens of U.S. cities, including major metropolitan areas. These results show that previous estimates of the number of Americans exposed to PFAS were way off and dramatically underestimated. Second, of tap water samples from 44 places in 31 states and the District of Columbia, only 1 sample had no detectable PFAS. Last, the water sample collected at Belleville Elementary School in New Brunswick County, North Carolina, had the highest level of PFAS of all of the samples tested. At Belleville Elementary, the level of PFAS was 186 parts per trillion. To put that in perspective, scientific studies recommend a level of just 1 part per trillion of PFAS in drinking water. And that's 3 things you need to know.
That's right. Those chemicals are linked to cancers, thyroid disorders, kidney disease, autoimmune disorders, liver disease, high cholesterol, developmental problems in fetuses, your baby, that's right, Parkinson's disease, bone disease, and more, as if we need to hear more. Bringing me to our slay word prognosticate for to predict or prophecy. Folks, I am going to prognosticate that if we don't get this situation under control, if we can at this point, if we don't get this under control, it's going to make us all very sick very, very soon if it doesn't just kill us. PFAS are used to make water and stain-resistant products. Think Teflon, think Scotchgard, think waterproof rain gear, dental floss, eyeliner, food packaging, carpeting, firefighting foam, folks, and a wide range of textiles. We don't need all these stupid clothes. The chemicals are particularly dangerous because, folks, they are water-soluble. That means they easily dissolve in water and they move right through the environment. Now, David Andrews is a senior scientist for the Environmental Working Group. He says this, quote, "It's nearly impossible to escape contamination. The entire globe and all of our drinking water and food systems are contaminated." I'm Carol Angela Davis. You better vote. Stop getting played. Now listen, don't look to the EPA to help you because they don't care. They're not doing anything for us. They've already shown themselves to be who they are. They're not going to help. What you have to do is run for office yourself or make sure you vote in people that will get the job done and get people in the right jobs to try and save our lives while there is still time. Vote, people. We got to stop getting played. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for caring about the planet. Thanks for caring about all of our lives. And thanks for watching. I hope you will follow me and I hope you will share this broadcast. We must always get the word out. Thanks for watching. I am Carol Angela Davis. You know I've got your slay word of the week, folks. That's right. It's prognosticate, folks. Time to level up that vocab and level up yourself because when the going gets tough, And it is tough right now. Well, the tough, we just get going now, don't we? Prognosticate, Prognosticate, prognosticate. Okay, it comes from the Middle English, okay, probably around the early 1800s, all right? It means to forecast or to foretell or predict something in the future, to prophecy, all right? We're going to use it in a sentence. Her daughter seemed to rarely do her chemistry homework, so mom prognosticated that daughter would probably not be getting a good grade in chem class, and we've all been there. Okay, how about this one? His son wasn't the best driver in the world, and there was a bad snowstorm coming on, so dad prognosticated that if he loaned son the car, son might get into an accident. Prognosticate, it means to forecast or foretell the future. Okay, now we're going to talk about it in terms of current events. Ha ha ha. Boy, is it relevant. All right, how about this? He has a degree in economics and knows a lot about the economy and the money flow. He is prognosticating that in 2020, there's going to be a sharp dip in the economy. I've been telling you all along, please stop spending your money. Seriously, stop spending and pay off your debt. Okay, let's go on. All right, now that the president has been impeached, folks, and acquitted, by the way, a lot of Democrats and some Republicans, too, are prognosticating that he will engage in some behavior that is very risky to our democracy, our republic, and our Constitution. Okay? Prognosticate, it means to forecast, foretell, or to predict something, to prophesize. You know, I'm going to use it every day in my news. Now, if you like the slay word, you know, you can always get me on Instagram. That name is Carol Angela D. I'm Carol Angela Davis. I thank you for watching. And remember, it's always time to level up that vocab and level up yourself. Thanks for watching. Hey, I'm Carol Angela Davis. I want to talk to you about, oh yes, Boeing. Oh, that wonderful company, Boeing. That's right. The question is, can Boeing get it together? And that actually is a question that we all have to answer for our own safety, because there is now a new software issue for that 737 MAX jet. Now, you remember the 730 MAX, okay? So you'll remember that it got grounded worldwide last March after 2 crashes that killed 346 people. Both of those crashes were linked to a safety system that was designed to force down the nose of the plane, not exactly where you want the nose of the plane going, in case it was climbing too fast and was at risk of stalling. The problem is it forced the nose down and they couldn't get the nose back up. And yeah, the nose went all the way down to the ground, and that is a huge problem. Boeing has been trying to fix the software on the plane for a year, folks, and now there is a new problem, people. That's right. The company says it involves an indicator light staying on longer than intended. Now, that light, it is associated with the stabilizer trim system. Yeah, I said stabilizer, okay? And that means, like, we want our plane stable. How about that? It raises and lowers, you guessed it, folks, the plane's nose. They need to get that together. Now, remember, after those crashes, they've been working on this for a year. About in December, right around the end of 2019, the CEO was forced out, but boy, they wrote him a beautiful check. Millions of dollars to get him out of there, or just because he's one of the boys, and they wanted to make sure they gave him a good send-off. 346 lives were lost. Frankly, folks, that's not their problem. That's actually our problem, because what's 346 lives when, hey, there's billions on the planet, okay? Don't forget that. Boeing says this of the new problem. It does not think it will further... Boeing does not think it will further delay the plane's return to service. And Boeing thinks the fleet will fly again by mid-year. That's if anybody will fly on it. Number one, as passengers, we already know the airline flight crew and the pilots have already said that until they can assure them that that plane is safe, they're not flying on the plane. All right, so that brings me to our say word prognosticate, for predict or prophecy. I'm going to prognosticate that in the interest of money, that plane, it is going to fly again, folks, probably by mid-year, ready or not. All right, but then how would you know? Can you count on the federal government? Do you know the federal government is telling us absolutely everything we need to know these days? Is the federal government being truthful? Here's what the FAA says. There is no set time frame for when the aircraft will be cleared for return to passenger service. It will be approved only after our safety experts are fully satisfied that all safety-related issues are addressed to the FAA's satisfaction. And we're really glad to hear the FAA say that, but let me say this. It took 347 deaths for the FAA to get on the ball and do its job of policing this aircraft in the first place. So FAA, it's not that we don't want to see you do your job, but you got to do your job well, and you got to tell the people the truth. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being updated on what's going on in your environment. Have a good day. I am Carol Angela Davis. There's a 70% chance that there's going to be a recession in the next 6 months, folks. That's right. That is the word from MIT's Sloan School of Management and State Street and Associates. And you might ask yourself, how do they know? Well, researchers created an index composed of 4 factors: non-farm payrolls, industrial production, stock market return, and the slope of the yield curve, okay? And they looked at them on a monthly basis and then measured how the current relationship between the 4 factors compares to history, okay? That brings me to our slay word, prognosticate, for predict the future or prophecy. Well, all right, they looked all the way back to 1916, so they went from 1916 to the present, okay, and they prognosticated and said this. The index composed of those 4 items, it rose leading up to every recession, folks, and whenever that index got above 70%, a recession hit within 6 months every time. And guess what? As of November 2019, the index is at 76%, folks. So probably 6 months, folks, we're in a recession. So stop spending and save. Now, let me tell you something else, folks. You are working yourself to death. Yes, you are. That's right. U.S. worker productivity, it is up. Productivity measures hourly output per worker. In other words, how much work you can do in an hour. And hopefully you won't fall over and keel over dead. The Labor Department says non-farm payroll increased at a 1.4% annualized rate last quarter. Now, you should know the Trump administration has targeted the growth rate for the country at 3%, but apparently sluggish productivity, you just not working hard enough, folks, is one reason why the U.S. is simply not achieving it. Meanwhile, you're not working hard enough for the dollar, okay? In fact, the economy grew at only 2.3% in 2019. That is the slowest in 3 years after logging a 2.9% rate in 2018. Some economists, this is interesting though too, some economists blame at least part of the economy's low productivity on the impact of rampant drug addiction, in some parts of the country. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. I'm Carol Angela Davis. I've got your cannabis news and your crime news all in one, folks. There are at least 40,000 people sitting in U.S. jails for the same cannabis-related actions that are turning people into millionaires and billionaires. That's right, folks. According to High Times, over the past 10 years, 15 million people have been arrested on cannabis-related charges, and we all know most of them are black and brown people. And all the while, the cannabis industry is just growing like a weed, folks. Guess what? In 2018, the U.S. cannabis industry pulled in $10.4 billion. In 2019, that number rose to $13.6 billion. And by 2025, that number is expected to grow to $29.7 billion bucks, people. Where is the expungement? Where is the responsibility on the part of those who are making their money off the backs of the incarcerated? There are people still sitting in jail on charges that no longer even warrant their incarceration. People, we cannot have that. In the United States, the Department of Justice has found that 2/3 of individuals go back to prison within 3 years of being released. If you take into account the stats, after 6 years, 79% of people are going to be incarcerated again, folks. Of course they are. They can't get a job. Okay, that brings me to our slay word, prognosticate, for to predict. Unfortunately, I'm going to prognosticate that these new cannabis millionaires and billionaires will do nothing to help those on whose backs their money lies. Now, we all know the bulk of the people in prisons are black and brown people. So what are you going to do about it? You heard what Mitch McConnell said, right? In the impeachment trial that he worked on, he said he was going to work in lockstep with the defendant. That would be Donald Trump, okay? He said he was going to make sure that Trump got the outcome that he wanted in the impeachment trial, no removal from office. Mitch McConnell said he and Lindsey Graham, they did not care about the evidence. They didn't even want to see the evidence, didn't allow any documents, no witnesses at all. They didn't want to see it because they already knew what the outcome was going to be. Well, maybe we need to take a tip from Mitch McConnell, folks. How about that? According to the ACLU, of the 8.2 million marijuana arrests between 2001 and 2010, 88%, folks, were for simply having marijuana. Nationwide, the arrest data showed a significant racial bias. I know you're not shocked about that. Despite roughly equal usage rates, you should know that blacks are 3.73 times more likely than whites to be arrested for marijuana. Why are you sitting on a jury putting someone in jail for marijuana? Why are you doing this? Consider Mitch McConnell's approach and work in lockstep with the defendant so he can get, or she can get, the outcome they want, which we happen to know is to go home, because the prisons are full of black and brown people rotting away due to marijuana while everyone else is making money. And it's wrong, and it's up to you to stop this vicious cycle. If you are on a jury, you do not have to put those people behind bars for marijuana charges when they never should have gotten arrested in the first place. Mitch McConnell showed you that. Maybe you should do what he did and send the defendant in the weed case back home. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. I am Carol Angela Davis. Okay, folks, we all know by now, I've done the story, so we're going to talk about it a little bit more. The White House is expanding that controversial 2017 travel ban to cover 6 new countries, which, of course, are mostly African and mostly black African nations, folks. That's right. You may have missed my piece on Nigerians and the amazing excellence of Nigerians. I'm going to give you some of that information in this piece and give you some more, because those Nigerians are not messing around when it comes to excellence. I don't care how they try and paint them around the world. They strive for excellence, and it sure does show here in the United States. Okay, now let me tell you this. That January 31 executive order added Nigeria, Myanmar, Eritrea, Kyrgyzstan, Sudan, and Tanzania to Trump's list of things he fears the most. He is scared people. We understand, because these are nations. I'm going to tell you, I can speak about Nigeria because I've done the research, that stand for excellence. So you know he's scared, right? He does not know how to come up against people who work hard, who are intelligent, and are determined to keep on excelling. He doesn't get that. So we understand why you're scared. All right. You should know that Nigeria and Sudan each hold majority Muslim populations, while Eritrea and Tanzania have sizable Muslim communities. Kyrgyzstan is a majority Muslim country in Asia. It's also on the list. The United States is suspending immigrant visa. It's called an immigrant visa, okay, for people from Nigeria, Eritrea, Kyrgyzstan, and Myanmar. Now, an immigrant visa is very important, because an immigrant visa is given to people who are seeking to live in the United States permanently. So this is an important move that he's making to try and keep people out, particularly Nigerians, because a lot of Nigerians come to the United States and they make a very big positive impact on this country, okay? In addition, people from Sudan and Tanzania, they're no longer going to be issued what's called a diversity visa. A diversity visa is for travelers from countries with historically low immigration rates to the U.S. So, I mean, if their immigration rates are so low, why are they a threat? Why are they a threat? Because they're brown. That's the only reason. In 2018, Trump referred to several African nations, you'll remember, as shithole countries during an immigration meeting at the White House. And a year before that, Trump talked about Nigerian visitors would, quote, never go back to their huts. Huts? Okay, Trump, let's talk about Nigeria. The most populated country in Africa, with a total population of 190 million people. It is also the U.S. second largest trading partner on the continent. In 2018, Nigerians were issued 7,922 immigrant visas, making it the second highest issuance compared to the other African nations. A lot of people from Nigeria are coming here. So when you start issuing bans, it's going to affect a lot of people and a lot of their families, and it's going to be felt right here in the United States, because that's a huge level of excellence that we're not going to be getting, people, and that is not good when you're trying to be a global superpower, which we are trying to be, but of course Trump's about to kill that. Okay, at HBCU, and for those you don't know, HBCU is a historically black college or university. Well, at Howard University in Washington, D.C., get this, over in the pharmacy program, 43 of the 96 recently graduating Doctor of Pharmacy candidates were Nigerians. That's almost half. Okay, in addition, of the 27 awards that were given out at graduation for excellence, 16 went to Nigerians. And you don't want them in this country? We need more Nigerians. Never before at Howard University or any other university in the United States of America has this happened. And guess who gave the commencement speech? Because he is the man when it comes to excellence, and that is President Obama. Thank you, President Obama. According to the United States Census Bureau, 4% of Nigerians hold the PhD degree. That is compared to 1% of the general population. Overperforming there. 17% of Nigerians hold a master's degree. 37% have a bachelor's degree. Rice University in Texas says Nigerian Americans are the most educated ethnic group in the United States. Okay? According to the Migrations Policy Institute, 29% of Nigerian Americans have graduate degrees. That is compared to only 11% of the general American population. A minimum of 4% of Nigerian Americans are also PhD holders. This is at least 3 times higher than any other ethnic group in the United States. And in 2018, you should know Nigerians were issued 7,922 immigrant visas, okay? That's the immigrant visa. That's the visa they're stopping, the immigrant visa. They got 7,922 immigrant visas in 2018, making it, of course, the second highest issuance compared to other African nations. I'm going to begin a new series examining the excellence and the accomplishments of Nigerians. It'll upload every Sunday because I want you to really be able to understand this level of excellence. We can all learn from our Nigerian brothers and sisters because we can all emulate them, and other groups, I hope, will look to them as a way of finding a path towards excellence. So that'll start on Sundays. All right, finally, we should tell you that a 2019 analysis of State Department data by the Brennan Center for Justice shows that more than 42,000 people have been barred from entering the United States as a result of the travel ban. And guess what, folks? The number of Muslim refugees admitted to the country between 2016 and 2018, it shrank by 91%. That's sad. That's sad to be so scared of another group of people that you're going to ban people who are bringing excellence into this country. So you're going to weaken the whole country because you're scared. Why don't you just get down, do the work, do the grind, do the work, stand for excellence, and be competitive? What is the big deal? Stop being so insecure. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. I am Carol Angela Davis. I've got your cannabis news, folks, from Illinois, where all the important cannabis money moves appear to be being made, folks. Well, workers at the Cresco Labs Joliet facility voted to unionize and negotiate what they say is a fair and just contract that's going to improve their working conditions. They'll do it with the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, that's the UFCW, making them the first cannabis workers in the state to have a union. The union's legislative and political director, he says this. He says wages are low there at Cresco for such a profitable company, and adds that though the workers do have health insurance, it is simply too expensive. Cresco Labs employs 562 employees in Illinois, with 2 cultivation centers in the state and 3 currently operational dispensaries. It has plans to open 5 more retail locations all total. It owns 23 production centers and 22 retail locations, employing about 1,180 people. The first cannabis worker organization drive for a union in Illinois did fail last year by a close vote. I reported it here on this show. But that cannabis industry in Illinois could be worth $2 to $3 billion and generate 65,000 jobs. So it is important to get this right. You should know that right now in Illinois, as many as 3 more national labor unions are currently looking to represent various sectors of the cannabis industry. There's the Service Employees International Union. It has been looking there at approaching the security workers there in the cannabis industry. Okay, there's also the operating engineers. They're looking to work with the maintenance workers. And then, of course, there's the Teamsters, and they have begun organizing cannabis transportation workers. So, boy, is that interesting. Illinois has labor peace agreements written right into those state cannabis regulations. Boy, that Illinois, I tell you. They just make it every day. They have thought of everything. They have obviously looked at other states and done their homework and decided what practices work and what needs some augmentation, and they're putting it right in those laws. This means management must allow union organizing campaigns to proceed without interference, folks. UFCW, you should know. It already represents over 10,000 cannabis workers in 14 states, including California, Washington State, and Pennsylvania. The union began its organizing efforts back in 2007. Now, many are seeing organized labor as an important counterbalance when it comes to the creeping dominance of large corporations in the marijuana business. And folks, let's face it, or in any other sector of the economy, that's why unions work. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. I am Carol Angela Davis. You know, I'm here with your cannabis news. So we're going to talk about Minnesota, where that state is still studying the efforts of other states in passing cannabis legalization. And we're talking adult usage there. House Majority Leader Ryan Winkler promising state residents, quote, the best legalization bill in the country to date, unquote. State legislators saying they intend to introduce a cannabis bill in the first days of the legislative session. So that would be good. Any plan for, we should know this, any plan for legalization may also have to pass up to 23 committees to even make it to the floor for a vote. That's like so many people and so many committees, and I'm sorry, I don't know how they're all going to be able to agree, because that's just a whole lot of people and everybody got their own interests. Well, at the top of the agenda, apparently, in Minnesota, in enacting a good law there, is ensuring that local producers take top priority in any fledgling cannabis industry. Now, let me say this. That is so admirable that they care about those local producers like that, and they're going to do what they can to make sure that they get top priority. But here's my question. What about expungement? I don't hear anything about that. I would like to know what Minnesota is doing about expungement. We all know those people shouldn't be locked up for that mess. So if you're in Minnesota, you know you need to talk to your elected officials and make sure they're doing the right thing and make sure that they're getting these people out, like Illinois. If they're studying best practices, they have to be studying Illinois, where they expunged 700,000 people straight up on day one. So I hope Minnesota is really doing the homework from the right sources. All right, a 2019 survey conducted by the Minnesota Medical Association found 57% of the state's doctors said they considered adult use cannabis to be a very important issue, but they are split on whether or not they think legalization would be a positive. Medical marijuana, you should know, it was legalized in Minnesota in 2015, authorized for patients with 9 qualifying conditions. Last year, lawmakers introduced an adult use bill that would have legalized cannabis use for individuals 18 and older, but the proposal didn't make it. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day. I am Carol Angela Davis. As always, I bring you your cannabis news. We're going to the great state of New Hampshire, folks, where lawmakers are trying to pass a bill that allows patients or caregivers to grow their own marijuana for medical reasons. Now, the legislation has already passed in the New Hampshire State Senate. Now it's heading to the House for a vote, but I have to caution you, don't get yourself too excited, because a similar bill, Grow Your Own bill, passed in the New Hampshire State House and Senate last year, but Republican Governor John Sununu, he refused to sign it because he thought it would make life more difficult for law enforcement. Gotta lock those people up, folks. That's the only way they can get that work done in those prisons and jails. Democratic State House Representative Tom Sherman, he says the new law, if enacted, will be a game changer. Okay, folks? Now, Sherman said this on New Hampshire Public Radio. He says, and I'm going to quote him, "This bill will give patients and their caregivers the ability to grow their own medicine at greatly reduced costs compared to the prohibitive costs that they now would have to pay at a dispensary, which might or might not have the type of medical cannabis that patients need to treat their conditions," unquote. Sherman said this again on New Hampshire Public Radio. Now, last month, you should know that in New Hampshire, the State House voted to expand New Hampshire's medical marijuana program. They added both insomnia and opioid addiction as qualifying conditions for medical marijuana prescriptions. We should tell you that New Hampshire legalized medical marijuana. That happened in 2013. And of course, I'm sure you know this, currently more than 30 states have done the same, have either legalized medical marijuana or recreational marijuana, and it's really closer to about 40 states at this point. And a lot more coming on board in 2020, 2 to 3 more coming up. We're almost at the end. I guess the feds are going to have to legalize because every state will have done something. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. Hey, Colorado State, it's your cannabis news. Colorado State University just got the go-ahead for a new cannabis chemistry bachelor's degree program. It's a new major. Apparently the class is about the science of cannabis, and of course they're going to train students to take a look at that science. It's going to feature 2 tracks, biology and then a more chemistry, analytical chemistry focused track. All right, both are going to include classes in math, genetics, biochemistry, neurobiology, physics, and analytical chemistry. So it's for that STEM person in you. Administrators say they do expect demand for that program to be very high. They expect as many as 60 enrolled students after 4 years of the program. Now, is it big business? Oh, listen, I know I don't need to tell you what kind of big business cannabis is in Colorado. Folks, do you know that Colorado's dispensary sales in 2019, wait till you hear the number. Are you ready for this? $1.72 billion, folks. Isn't that amazing? That's right, people. Okay, now we also want you to know that Colorado, however, is not the only place. There's a lot of courses out there that you can take if you want to get into the cannabis industry from the aspect of attaining a certificate program or a degree. Northern Michigan University has a medicinal plant chemistry degree, okay, and that course is of course, obviously focusing on cannabis. Michigan's Lake Superior State University, it has a degree program in cannabis. Also, the University of Maryland, it just started a Master's of Science in Medicinal Cannabis and Therapeutics degree program. This program is going to give students the knowledge and skills they need to support patients and the medical cannabis industry. Also, we hope to add to the existing body of research in the field, and they do also hope to help develop well-informed cannabis policy. All right, Ohio's Hocking College, it has a cannabis lab technician major. It focuses on the chemical and biological makeup of the plant. Also, and we should tell you, from Israel, there's a college there that is announcing a plan to have a Bachelor's of Arts degree in behavioral sciences, yep, with a specialization in medicinal marijuana. I'm Carol Angela Davis. I am Carol Angela Davis. I've got your cannabis news, folks. We're traveling to New York, where a transit cop is accused of clocking out, folks, and then returning later with a bulletproof vest on and a ski mask, so you know where this is going, to stage an armed robbery at a man's house in the Bronx. Okay, now the cop's name is Michael Latimer. He had the nerve to go get a friend and bring an accomplice. Both of them going to jail. Police say the pair held their victim at gunpoint and ultimately made off with the victim's watch and a duffel bag full of cannabis, folks. Yes, he did. Michael Latimer is from New York's Transit District 12. He was arrested after a neighbor tipped off law enforcement. The neighbor said he or she saw the two pulling on their ski mask. Anyone? Knock, knock. I want to say this. Anyone home? Before they entered the apartment building. I'm trying to figure out how these people, really, seriously, how did they get on the police force? Because they're not very smart. The Latimer case is not the first case this year involving a cop and a marijuana-related robbery. That's right, folks. Okay, let's talk about Los Angeles. A cop there was charged with stealing cannabis out of an unlicensed dispensary. Problem number one, it was unlicensed. And the unlicensed dispensary employee's backpack. That's right. The alleged theft took place when Officer Louis Mota participated in an LAPD raid of the establishment. So here he goes down. He participates in the raid. He opens up the backpack. He says, ooh, weed. And then he proceeds, because it was an unlicensed dispensary, so they could raid the place. And then he says, oh, wow, there's some cannabis. I think I'll take it home. I mean, come on, guys. Also, an LA County Sheriff's deputy, he's facing a minimum of 12 years in prison regarding his participation in a 2018 robbery of a cannabis dispensary. Now, that officer's name is Mark Antrim. Police say he and his co-conspirator, who worked at the business, police say that they imprisoned the security personnel there at the business, and they locked them in a cage that was installed in a Ford Explorer. These people are like a whole thing going, but they got a cage and everything. Then they took 2 hours while the people were locked in the cage to rob the dispensary of 1,200 pounds of cannabis, yes, and 2 large commercial safes with more than $600,000 in cash in them. This is why we need to be able to put the money in the bank, because this is the kind of stuff that happens. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching.